Hello, good evening, everybody. Welcome to our Tech Tuesday evening. And I'm deviating a little bit tonight away from my normal nutrition that I normally do. And I thought I'd delve a little bit deeper into business side of things and specifically what one needs to look for when joining a business. Obviously, we're all in the same business at the moment, but for anybody else out there contemplating looking at a network marketing business, there's certain criteria that you need to look at. And there's so many things out there, there's so many scams and scam artists out there that it's very, very scary. And that's what has brought the profession into a bit of disrepute, unfortunately, because it still is one of the best ways that anybody can start their own business, work for themselves, but not by themselves, and make a huge success for themselves and of themselves. So let me share my screen and get going with all my goodies. Okay. Okay. So when we look at this, we call it the ideal business. And there are 7 things that you need to look for in a network marketing business model. And in my opinion, pretty much any business model for that matter, because there's always fine print and loopholes and things in pretty much any business. So you want to make some extra money. And we look around these days, and there are so many people looking for work, looking for jobs. I see it daily, and they're all looking for jobs. There's not too many people out there looking for a business. So we need to educate them on what the difference is between a job and a business. Today's life is tough, even for those who have got jobs. Yeah, by the end of the first 48 hours of the month, usually your salary is gone. And in most cases, people just go, well, where did it go to? They see it go ding into the account, and then it goes as it all goes out again. And you just don't know where it went to. And life is expensive because you go to the shop today and a loaf of bread costs X amount, and you go there tomorrow and it costs Y amount. And you go, but nothing's changed. Or you see the packaging that says an extra free 5% that's free, but the packaging has come down by 120 grams, for instance. So there's life is expensive. Back a few decades ago, life was a whole lot simpler, and most families relied on a single income and were actually able to live quite comfortably. Because dad went off to work, mom stayed at home to look after the kids and do all the things that moms do at home. And the kids grew up with at least one of the parents' input all the time, not somebody else's input. And everybody joined together and life was easy. And you could actually live on that single income, not barely survive. Sadly, these days, it's very, very rare to find a single income family, unless it's somebody where the husband is the CEO of a mega billion-dollar business, and what he brings in is usually more than enough for the family to survive on and live on, in fact. In many cases, one or both parents need more than one job to make ends meet, because even with 2 salaries, there's still way too much month at the end of the money. So are they being extravagant, or is life just that expensive? Now, I know where I live over here, I don't think I live a very extravagant lifestyle, but maybe we've got a couple of extra things that a lot of other people don't have, can't afford. We're fortunate in that my wife has a company car, because otherwise, to have 2 cars in one family becomes very expensive. And fortunate in that I've got a good fiber connection. A lot of people don't have that. So we are blessed in that we've got some, I suppose some people would call it luxuries. But at the end of the day, we don't eat out regularly. We certainly don't go to movies regularly. We don't go on holidays virtually at all, never mind regularly. So those, for me, are quite luxury things. And it all depends on what your definition of extravagant or luxury is. So between rent, or if you're able to actually afford a bond on a house, a vehicle or two, or money for public transport if you can't afford a vehicle. Have you looked at how much bus tickets cost, how much taxis cost? All those things, that's extra money. Aftercare, if you have children. School. School is disgustingly expensive these days. Worse if your children are forced to be in a hostel or away at varsity and digs and that sort of thing. It's extremely expensive. And there's a myriad of other expenses like insurances and planning for your retirement, groceries, all those things. I won't even go into all the expenses, but we all know what they are. Life is tough. I know in our family, we don't live that extravagantly, but by the time the standard bills are paid, such as the bond, utilities, car payments, insurance, school fees, food, etc., there's very little fun money left over. And I saw in one of our local Facebook groups the other day, somebody was saying, and they put up the post and they put it up anonymously, and they said, look, we're not looking for a handout, but things are rough. And we would just like to know, how do people survive? How do they come out every month? Do they have extra income? And the responses were quite fascinating. And for me, it was also quite sad looking at how people are forced to take pasta and spread it out through the month, and they're living on things like rice and samp and soup mixes and things like that. For me, that's not living, that's surviving. And yet there's an awful lot of people that are surviving every month and not actually living. So what are some side income ideas? I went onto the web and I did a little bit of research to see what are some of the things that people do that make up another income. Blogging is one of them. And you can write about a topic you're knowledgeable about and create content that's helpful and interesting to readers. You can promote your blog on social media to grow your audience. And this is something I've played with and toyed with, but I've never really worked out exactly how to do it. And maybe one day I will, because I do know that there are a lot of people out there doing blogging and making quite a good income. Tutoring. If you're knowledgeable about a subject, you can tutor students online. You can be paid per session or hourly. I know, Dominique, you do French lessons, but there's a whole lot of other things. So what is something that you know about? You might not have a university degree in the subject, but you know about it and you can teach other people. Well, you can charge them for that information. Selling photography. You can sell your photos as stock imagery or offer prints on your website or on platforms like Etsy. Again, this is something that I'm not familiar with or don't really know how, but I know it's possible and it doesn't require packaging up or anything like that. And you don't even need a fancy camera. All you need is just that particular magic shot of a sunset or a sunrise or a silhouette of somebody against that or a sea background. People are willing to buy photos and you can sell them for dollars. Obviously, you might have to do a little bit of research into how to do it, but it's an idea. Pet sitting. You can provide in-home care for pets while their owners are away. People who are fortunate enough to go away on holiday, but they've got very special pets who are old or they need a special diet or something, and they don't really want to put them into a place like kennels or something like that because their pets are used to their home environment. So then you can offer to look after those pets, do a bit of home sitting for them and charge them. You're probably not going to become a multimillionaire as a result, but it's an extra income. You can develop mobile apps if you're technologically blessed. You can create a mobile app and generate income through the sales or ads in that app. Now, obviously, this is a technical thing and not everybody can do it, but not everybody can become a doctor. Not everybody can become a pilot, just for out of interest sake. Teaching online fitness classes. You can teach yoga, aerobics, or cycling classes online using live video. And we saw this a few years ago when the world came to an end, where gyms were closing and aerobics classes were closing. And suddenly people discovered that they've got a camera on their laptop. And if you stood far enough away, you could Zoom your class, and people paid you for those lessons. Taking online surveys. You can take online surveys to share your opinion and participate in market research. And this can be about anything and everything. You've just got to do a little bit of a search online and you'll find a ton of these things. Now, obviously, you need to do your due diligence and research because there are a lot of scams out there as well, but it's something to look at. Affiliate marketing. You can advertise products or services on your platform and earn a commission for any sales generated from your referrals. And I've noticed that quite a few network marketing companies have gone this way. Not always a good idea, but it's an option. And you can become an affiliate marketer for all sorts of different things. There's a ton of courses and things out there where if you simply share that course that you've done, you can get a little bit of income out of that. So it's something to do some research on. Freelance work. So you may be retired, but you can do things like writing, even technical writing. You can take recordings and transfer them into words. You can become a virtual assistant. There's a lot of things that you can do online. Virtual assistants is things like I remember a friend of mine was taking appointments for a group of psychologists in the States, and she was sitting in a caravan in the Kruger Park. She had an internet connection, and she had a few hours of the day that she needed to work, go online, talk to people via internet in America, making appointments, following up on appointments, getting some information, and paid in dollars, living in the Kruger Park. What a wonderful way of working. And in fact, her and her partner are currently traveling around the country as nomads, working online, doing freelance work for various different places, living an absolute amazing life because they've got a caravan and they travel from place to place to place, and they set up camp for about a month or so, wherever they feel like it. And as long as they've got an internet connection, they can work. So is a business of your own a better idea instead of working for other people? And there are many conflicting pieces of advice, but one piece is that if you want to make a lot of money, you need to work for yourself. Because in any business, if you have a job, who earns the most money? You as the worker on the floor, or the owner who is the boss? Who's the person to earn the most amount of money? And I was watching a very interesting thing the other day. It was a little video clip, and it was Kendra Brasfield who was talking. And she made a very, very interesting comment, which I found most amazing. And she says what she likes to do is that every so often she goes through some of the president's team members and their profiles. And she was looking through, and she didn't mention names, but she looked through this particular president's team member and she went, oh, I wonder what their check is. And she go on and she went, okay, that looks interesting. And she did a little bit more research and she thought, is that actually true? And she went through and she saw that their income exceeded hers. Kendra Brasfield is the CEO of our company. Now, in traditional business, it would be impossible for any employee, even the vice president, to out-earn the CEO. Yet, in this business, she has people in the team who are not employed by her. In fact, she's employed by them, more to the point, but she's the CEO of the company, our parent company, and yet these independent business owners are out earning her. Isn't that a good thing? Better than a traditional business, don't you think? Now, if you work for a boss, life seems to be a never-ending cycle of sleep, eat, rush to work, stress yourself to a standstill, rush home, spend a short bit of quality time with your family before dropping into bed exhausted, only to start the whole silly cycle again the next morning. And we all, on Monday morning, everybody's looking at the watches and going, oh, I wish it was Friday. And on Friday, you blink twice and it's Monday and you're wishing for Friday again. And you end up wishing your life away. And you do this for 30 to 40 years of your life. Fun, isn't it? And this cycle goes on from the time you leave school, or before in some cases, until you're considered old enough to retire, or you're made redundant for various reasons because of technology, AI, you're now considered too old, even though your value is now priceless because of your understanding and your experience, because you cannot buy experience. So there's a lot of reasons why people are kicked out. And in some places, by the time you reach a certain age, sorry, that's your birthday month. Be nice knowing you. Goodbye. We can't employ you anymore. And for workers watching a boss or a business owner live an apparent life of freedom, they envy them, they envy them, their apparent lavish lifestyle and freedom of choices because, hey, look, boss is out fishing today, or hey, he's out playing golf today. But what you're not seeing is the stress, and you're not seeing the debt. Life isn't always what it appears to be. Ever heard that analogy about a duck? On the surface, duck is gliding peacefully along the surface of the river, and underneath he's paddling madly to keep going and to keep afloat. So I subscribe to one of the newsletters of a business owner, and his recent one was very interesting. It's Dustin Welsh who has got the newsletter. And if you want a copy of this particular link that I've got over here, please let me know and I'll send it to you because he's got some fascinating ideas. But the topic of his latest newsletter was the luxury of doing less. Now, wouldn't it be nice to be able to work for 2 to 3 hours a day and enjoy the rest of the day, where you don't really care if it's Monday and you forget that maybe there's a public holiday or a weekend because you're enjoying life. It's not this mad stress rush around all the time. Because we're living in a world that profits from our attention and rewards constant output. If you watch productivity channels on YouTube, they'll tell you need to wake up at 4:30 a.m., take an ice bath, meditate, schedule every minute of your day, and optimize your life for maximum output. And I was listening to a podcast a while back, and one of the comments was one particular guy that they were talking about is quite a high up guy, quite well known apparently, not by me, but anyway. And he has got his life planned for the next 2 years in advance. And he plans literally when he wakes up, when he goes to sleep, what he eats, when he travels, what holiday he's doing for 2 years in advance. Might be good, but a bit extreme, I think. So the big question is, am I really living the best life possible? Are you getting the quality time with your family? Have you ever sat down on a Monday morning going, I could think of a million other things I could be doing at home or in other places. Instead of fighting with a city computer that's just crashed again, the power's off, there's people striking all over the place. It's not fun. And is it really worthwhile spending your best years running around like a headless chicken in the proverbial rat race when you don't have any quality life with the ones you value the most? Think of it. At most, we are promised about, if you're lucky, 75 to 80 birthdays. Put that into perspective. I see many people in my practice and in hospital who are stressing because they can't afford to be ill or damaged and forced to recover. I can't tell you the number of times where guys been at work and he's fallen down, he's broken a leg or a pelvis or a back, and he's going, oh, how long is this going to take to heal? And I go, well, 6 to 12 weeks. I really don't have time for this. I've got to be doing this, that. And people are relying on me for all sorts of things. And it's worse when it's the business owner. When they're lying there, and I'm going, while I'm lying here, I'm not earning any money, but I need to pay my staff. And they stress themselves sick, literally. I can also tell you that recovery is very expensive, not to mention time-consuming and painful. For those who know me, and have spoken about it before, I sprained my ankle towards the end of December. So it was about mid to end of December. So that's roughly about 6 weeks ago now. And I knew at the time I couldn't afford to take time off because of standby, etc. But it was also sore. And I knew that if I was my patient, I would be telling me, and subsequently I've seen a few patients who've done exactly the same thing as me, missed a step, fallen down, sprained their ankle, and they get told, sorry, 6 weeks, you're off, you're not doing any work. Yet I was able to push through, not because of anything else, but, well, partly pig-headedness, because I make a lousy patient. Medical people never listen to themselves, but also very good products, which helped me to heal a lot quicker. But the end result was that I was able to get up and move relatively quickly. But if I look at other people, when you consider the cost of the doctor consultations, now fortunately mine was an injury on duty, so that was insurance that covered that. But if you don't have medical aid, there's doctor visits, there's x-rays, there's my braces, my crutches, there's medication, there's follow-ups with the doctor where you're going to spend, if you're lucky, half an hour waiting. If you're not lucky, 2 to 3 hours waiting for your appointment. That is time. Can you really afford to waste that time? And then, as I said, 6 to 12 weeks of recovery, including physiotherapy, more x-rays, and all the rest. It's expensive. Not to mention the frustration. Now, there's some things that people don't tell you about success. They tell you that success is good, but there's some things that they don't tell you. The individuals who achieve the most success are not those who rush from one meeting to another, boast about their 80-hour work weeks, or share images of their overloaded schedules on social media. Instead, they prioritize creating time in their calendars and their lives for profound reflection and genuine relaxation. As Jordan Adler puts it, beach money. And beach money, in his definition, is being able to wake up in the morning and go, oh, look out the window. The weather's great today. I think I'm going to the beach, instead of having to plan it 6 months in advance. Numerous successful entrepreneurs dedicate 3 to 4 hours daily to reading or think weeks to fully unplug. How's that for something to do? However, we continue to glorify the hustle while perceiving rest as a sign of weakness. Most people, they're lucky, get 2 weeks of leave a year. But wouldn't it be nice to have 2 weeks vacation every month, or every second month, or every third month? What's the real definition of wealth? What they're saying is that true luxury has shifted from owning expensive cars and lavish apartments to embracing the freedom to think and live intentionally and clearly. There was a story that I heard a while back. This wealthy individual goes on holiday to an island somewhere out in the middle of the Indian Ocean, and he meets this fisherman. And this fisherman lives in a shack on the beach, and he goes out every morning and he fishes and he sells a few fish and he comes home again. And this wealthy tycoon says to him, you know, it's great, but you've got absolutely no wealth to show for this. What happens? What are you going to do for pension? The guy says, what's a pension? He says, what you should be doing is maybe go look at getting a few other people to go out fishing for you, and you taking a lot more of the profit of the fish that are caught. And then you can buy a few extra boats and you can develop this fleet and you can have this bigger group of employees to go out and do all the work for you. And then you can go and rest on the beach, fish when you want to, and have a house. And the guy looked at him and like he was a bit crazy and said, so you want me to stress myself silly, go into debt to build up this wealth so that I can continue to do what I'm doing now? And the tycoon could not understand how this poor, in his opinion, fisherman could look at things that way. So the definition of wealth means having the ability to think without interruptions. In other words, put your phone on silent, on aircraft mode, or turn it off. Fostering space for innovative ideas and focused work. Imagine going to sit on the beach for 2 hours just to think, or go for a walk at 9 o'clock on a Monday morning along the beach, just thinking. And it involves sleeping without the need for an alarm, allowing our bodies to align with their natural rhythms. As John has always said, you wake up when you finished sleeping, not when you've got this noisy thing in your ear yelling at you, saying it's 5:30 in the morning, it's time to get up. I'm running out of time over here. It's about moving at a pace that suits us and dismissing unnecessary haste. We call it the rat race. And have you ever looked at a pet rat in a cage with a wheel? And they are running themselves into exhaustion on this wheel, not going anywhere at all. And we see it, if you go to a gym, you'll see the same thing over there. See these individuals on this treadmill, and they're running themselves into oblivion so that they can get fit, so that they can go sit in an office for 5 hours to make money to afford to pay for the gym. And it's about living in a space free from constant distractions, prioritizing a calm mind over chaos. Think of Richard Branson. He bought an island somewhere in the middle of the ocean somewhere. And when he's had enough of the rat race, he retreats to his island and he sits and relaxes and thinks. That's wealth. And none of those can get purchased with money. Yes, he needed a bit of money to purchase his island, but if you really read the story behind that, it didn't even cost him a lot of money. And what he's done with it since then is mind-blowing. And I read another story of a man recently who he was in his early 30s, took early retirement, cashed his money in, bought an island, and he's lived out there in the middle of nowhere and has turned this place into a complete nature reserve. That is, you can't buy that with money. So we must actively choose this way of living by declining what appears to be important, but truly isn't. Having $50 million in your bank account, is it really important? Look at all these people in America at the moment, in Los Angeles. They've all got, or I wouldn't say all, but a lot of them have got millions in the bank, but now they don't have a home to live in. Everything they worked for, gone in a second. Other people who were battling and living there anyway, their businesses, their homes, gone literally in minutes. One couple I heard of had been living in the same house for over 75 years. That was gone, destroyed in minutes. What is the wealth worth to you for that? So the bottom line, the contemporary world constantly seeks to capture your attention, overcrowd your schedule, and hasten your pace of life. Before you realize it, time will have passed, and you may find yourself reflecting on the moments you overlooked. And we're talking, you're now in your 80s or late 70s, and you're sick and tired and in pain, and you've got nothing to show for it. The truest form of luxury lies in your capacity to resist external pressures and prioritize what is truly important to you. There is no need for approval to take a step back. Moreover, you certainly owe no apologies for opting to live free from distractions. In a society that perpetually seeks to divert your focus, silencing the clamor could be the most defiant action you can take. And that's where I'm going to stop this week. Still got about 6 minutes. We don't get going just yet. Does anybody have any comments or questions before I stop this recording?